Welcome to the final edition of Picks, Props, and Predictions on the fifth quarter show here on YouTube for 2024 at least. Triple P will continue on in my social media feeds. I'll explain that a little later on in this episode. As always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please play responsibly. Know your limit. Boy, oh boy, it's been a rough ride over the last couple of weeks. 1-3 last week, 15-14 overall. I got Argo's money line right last week, and that was about all that went right last week. Wrong on Saskatchewan covering the 3.5-point spread in Winnipeg. Wrong on Davaris Daniels getting over 3.5 catches against Montreal. And wrong in the Eastern Final, accumulating more total points than the Western Final. So let's try to flip the script on that this week. And there's one more game, and it's Grey Cup 111 at BC Place in Vancouver, and it's a rematch of the 2022 final between these two teams, Winnipeg and Toronto, a game in which the Bombers were favored to win, but ended up losing after backup quarterback at that time, Chad Kelly, came in late in the game and sealed the deal. 2 years later, Winnipeg again favored going into this game, Toronto having to rely on their backup quarterback to get them across the finish line. The only difference this time is that Nick Arbuckle, who's going to be starting for Toronto on Sunday, has a whole week to prepare for Winnipeg. Now, here's some other things that you should keep in mind if you are betting on this game. Toronto beat the Blue Bombers both times this season, and both games were very close. They won 16-14 in overtime in Week 8, and Toronto upended Winnipeg 14-11 in Week 19. Now, the line for the Grey Cup opened at minus 10.5 for Winnipeg. It has fallen at some sports books to minus 8.5. Most of them around minus 9.5. And that's the line that I'm going to go with. Toronto may not have their first-string quarterback, but they still have a solid defense. They still have a very good special teams unit. And I think those two facets of the game keep this game close enough to not get into the double digits. I think Winnipeg wins, but I think Toronto covers the 9.5-point spread. Let's get to the prop, and we're going to focus on Brady Oliveira. Fantastic running back, as you all know. The Grey Cup rushing yards over under number, last time I checked, 74.5. So that's the number I'm going to go with. In their first meeting, Oliveira ran 13 times for 96 yards. But only amassed 64 yards on 12 carries against Toronto in the rematch. Now, if you add those numbers together, that's 25 carries for 160 yards, an average of 6.4 yards per carry. By that math, if Oliveira gets a dozen carries on Sunday, he should get, again, by that math, 76.8 yards in the game. Now, if the Bombers get out to an early lead, you know they're going to be relying a little more on Oliveira to get those chunk yards, to, get the clock continuing to run. And I think if he gets more than a dozen carries in the Grey Cup, he's going to go over that 74.5 rushing total. So I have Brady Oliveira over 74.5 rushing yards. To the prediction we go. And I'm going to focus on the Grey Cup awards. After the game is over, we have the most outstanding player in the Grey Cup, and we have the most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup. So given that I'm picking Winnipeg to win, odds are the Grey Cup most outstanding player and top Canadian will go to Bombers players. Quarterbacks have won the Grey Cup most outstanding player in 6 out of the last 10 years, I should say. And as for the most outstanding Canadian, this is interesting. Since this award was first given out in 1971, there have been 10 players on losing teams that have won it. Interesting stat. My prediction is that Zach Collaros is going to win the Grey Cup most outstanding player award. That's playing plus 195 at some sports books. And Brady Oliveira is going to be the top Canadian. Listen, if Toronto wins, that'll certainly be a much different script for the Grey Cup awards. As I mentioned at the top of the show, picks, props, and predictions on this channel for this year is ending as of this show, but I have some people reaching out to say, can you continue to make your NFL rapid fire picks? And I thought, okay, I'm not going to dedicate a picks, props, and predictions on the fifth quarter show on YouTube to NFL picks, but I will do it on my social media feed. So follow me on X or Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The handle is @RickZamperin. Last week, I went 9-5 in my rapid fire NFL picks. For the season, I think a very impressive 110-42. So let's get to week 11 in the National Football League, and I have Philadelphia winning a big Thursday nighter against Washington. Miami beating the Raiders. The Jets over Indianapolis. Pittsburgh at home. I'll take the home dogs over the Ravens in what should be an outstanding game. Minnesota beats Tennessee. New Orleans clubs Cleveland. Detroit manhandles Jacksonville. The arch rivals going at it this Sunday, Green Bay and Chicago. I'll go with the Packers over the Bears. Rams go cross-country and beat New England. Denver gets by Atlanta. San Francisco takes over and beats a divisional opponent in Seattle. Probably the biggest game this weekend is in Buffalo. Bills and the unbeaten Chiefs. The winning streak for Kansas City comes to an end on Sunday. I think Bills win this big, 34-20, somewhere around there. I have the Chargers over Cincinnati, and on Monday Night Football, Houston beats Dallas. Good luck with your NFL picks. Still to come, we have, of course, the Grey Cup on Sunday. On Sunday, November the 17th, after the game, the fifth quarter show will be live after the Grey Cup. Call in, email fifthquartershow@gmail.com. Join in on the chat. We're going to talk about who won, who lost, the big performers, the lackluster performers, the halftime show, and everything else in Grey Cup lore. And I'm sure there'll be some Ticats chatter on Sunday night as well. Tuesday, November 19th, it's the premiere episode of the Fifth Quarter Show Seasons, when we look back at some of the iconic seasons in Ticats history. And on Thursday, November the 21st, the debut episode of Legends. The who's who of Tiger Cats, infamous players, famous games and stats and records that they broke or achieved will be profiled in Legends. And on Friday, November the 22nd, starting at 8 p.m., we're going to have a live special Ticats free agency show. We're going to talk about who's coming, who's going, who we want, who we no longer want. It's going to be a lot of fun. Friday, November the 22nd, 8 p.m. here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Grey Cup. And we'll talk to you after the game on Sunday night. Oski Wee Wee.